Hi everyone, this is Jay Johnson. It is Thursday morning, about 6 o'clock, and I'm having my coffee and I'm getting ready to work on the image. And I thought this would be a good one for an In the Digital Studio video, which I haven't done in a while, and I apologize, but this is fall. This is my busiest time of the year, and I'm out photographing quite a bit during this season. Anyway, I'm here this morning having coffee, and I thought I would work on this image. So let me get started here. This is a blue heron shot that I got last week when I'm down at the river waiting to see if the eagles will come in and excuse me, do some fishing or something like that. I photograph pretty much anything that I see over the water, and I see a lot of these blue herons, and I get a lot of these shots, and they always have a very similar background, which is fine, but gets boring after a while, which is why I love using textures and backgrounds, because I can take these similar shots, which I have tons of, and give them a whole new look and create a work of art. And that's what I'm going to do with this guy. Got this flying shot, thought it was pretty cool, pretty sharp, and I thought he just needs to go with one of the new backgrounds from the Deep Sea collection I just released. It's perfect. Perfect collection for water birds, anything water related or ocean or sea related. Even though this was on the river, you do see blue herons at the sea, and they go well with these textures. So what I'm going to do with him is I'm going to start masking away his background here. And I'm in Topaz Photo FX Lab, and I'm going to the masking tab, and I'm just going to get on the right layer first. That would be helpful. And start masking away around the edges of him, getting as close as I can, like so. Now, I'm going to make him, excuse me, I'm going to make him a little bigger, but first I want to get all the masking done. So I've gotten around him pretty close with a big soft brush, and I'm thinking about these feet. I want his feet to show. I know normally I mask over the edges of the feathers to blend in, and in this case I will do that at some point, but on his feet I don't want to mask over those. And normally I would leave the edge aware tool right here. I would leave it all the way to the left, which gives a very soft transition. But in this case, the edge aware tool is, I could go to Topaz Remask and mask him out exactly, but I don't have to do that, because if I scoot the edge aware tool all the way over to the right, lower my brush size, I can get right down in here like this, right along the edge of those feet and his feathers. Now this only works if there's a pretty good contrast. And see, that one went over that feather just a little bit because there's not much contrast around the feathers, but where there's a dark area against his light blue background, it works pretty good. So I'm just getting as close as I can around those feet. And I'll go over his feet a little bit when I go back to the softer. When I move the edge aware tool the other direction. But I won't go over it as much as I would the feathers. I'm just getting all this extra stuff out of here. See how nice that made a sharp transition around the feet, which is what I want to happen, because I want those feet to be crisp and clear. At least I think I do. And then I'm going to go around these feathers too, with the edge aware pushed all the way to the right, because there's pretty good contrast right there. And go up around here. I'm just going to go all the way around him with the edge aware turned all the way to the right. And then later I can go over the feathers a little bit. And I'm going to also do this around the beak area because I want his beak to be sharp. Just going around these feathers. Let's move him a little bit so I can see better. There we go. Bring the brush size up a little. Bring it back down so I can get in there. See, it went over that feather right there because there's not a lot of contrast. So it's trying to discern the feathers from the water, the feathers of the wings. But that's okay because I can bring that back in just a minute. But where there's strong contrast, it goes right along the edge. I guess that's why they call it edge aware. And get this beak, go around that beak. I want that to be just as sharp as I do the feet. And the neck feathers. And I notice a small area in between his toes here. So I'm going to go with a little smaller brush, just like a 1. Just get right in there. Right there. So I did a nice job around the feet. Now I'm going to go back up to this feather where I messed up. At this point, I'm going to bring the edge wear back to the left because I've pretty much got everything masked out. Oops, wrong direction. I'm working at full opacity here. Bring these feathers back out. It's just a back and forth like painting. There's a little spot right here. Oops, wrong way. And a little feather I messed up right here. Alright, let's zoom back out. Okay, looks pretty good. He's too small, so I'm going to raise up his size. Also looking at my mask here, I see some areas that I missed. I'm going to put him off this way because right now he's down here and it looks like he's going to fly off the canvas. I like him to have plenty of room. And you can actually see where I get up here in the darker area where the masking is not complete. I'm going to go back and get in up there. Now his mask looks pretty good. Now at this point, I'm going to lower the flow and lower the brush size, and I'm just going to gently go over these edges of these feathers to blend him in a little bit more seamlessly with the background. Maybe even go with a bigger brush. And I like this one pretty sharp, so I'm not going to do a whole lot of blending there. The farther away wing, this wing can be softer. This wing I want to stay sharper. And I'm going to bring back a little bit of these tail feathers right here. I've got a little white edge right here. Just go back around that a little more. And this head. And up under here. Just trying to make sure there's no sharp light colored edges around him. There. That looks pretty good. Now, I've got to decide what I want to do with him. First of all, I have not edited him at all. I think he needs a little boost in clarity and color. So I'm going to go to Topaz Clarity and try this and see if this will do it. I like fur and feathers. That boosted him up a little. If I go fur and feathers 2, I get a little more color. See, that's before and that's after. I like that, so I'm going to go down here at the bottom and click OK. There we go. Now I'd like to pull some of the color from the texture into him. So I'm going to duplicate the texture and put it on top and play with some layer modes. Usually I like soft light, and that's probably no exception here. That's interesting. But I don't want it at full opacity. I just want to pull a little bit of the color into him. So maybe about 23%. So that's before and that's after. Now I'm going to pull out another texture from the collection and see if I can make things a little more interesting with him. Let's try this one. This has got some interesting lighting here. Once again, soft light is one of my favorites. Okay, that's before and that's after. But I may raise the size of this layer up and bring more of that white area up over him. And maybe lower the opacity some. Maybe about 56%. Now it's looking pretty good. One thing I'm seeing is there's a warm tone to his feet. And parts of his feathers here, but the textures are very cool. Or this one is. So let me see if I can warm this particular texture up a little bit. This layer. Bring the color. Oh, there we go. Bring the temperature of the. See, this is before, and then when I slide it, it just gets a little bit warmer. And maybe go this direction. It gives it a little more of a green tone. Let me raise that opacity of that layer up. And adjust these. Just very subtle adjustment. Before, after. I like what that's doing. Let me see if I want to bring another one in here. Let's see. Let me go to another collection and see if I have something a little warmer. That I could add on top of this. Let's try the Dreamy Skies collection. Here's one that's a little warmer. Let's see what that'll do. This is all an experiment. I like that. That overlay really brightens things up. Gives him just a little touch of warmness and lighting. Maybe about almost 60%. That looks really good. May even go, I don't know how big I can go with the bird, but try going a little bit larger with him. No, I think I like him the original size. Gives me room to add a quote here if I want to, or add something else in. Okay, I'm going to merge all of these by clicking on From Stack. All right, everything is merged. Now I'm going to decide if I want to go a little bit more painterly with him. So I've duplicated the merged layer. I'm going to go to Topaz Impression. And just go through my presets and see if anything looks interesting. Let's see. That softened him up a little. Just playing with the different ones to see if anything looks good. Before, after. Oh no, that's interesting. This is the presets I set up to do the paintings of my horses. And I talked about this before in another video, but when I set up my presets, I like to set up one with a large brush, medium brush, and a small brush. And in this case, I've done a tiny brush too, because that way I can get the look of a true painting. I do it in layers. So that might be a possibility, because I really like the way this looked. And of course I have my old standby, which is oil, which I really like. There's an ocean one. I don't like those on this bird. Makes it a little too choppy. Oil glaze light. I like that one. Just kind of softens everything. Oil glaze light 2. And there's one with some heavier brush strokes. Here's a pastel. I'm really thinking the horse one may be a possibility. Let me go back to that. Darkens it quite a bit. Let me check my settings on this and see why it's darkening it. The overall lightness is down. Set that up. Contrast. No vignette. Can't decide on this one. Typical of my process. It's a watercolor look. Just can't decide what I want to do with it. Usually when I can't decide, I'll go with oil glaze, which I really do like how it is softened. Got rid of some of his noise. I don't like it on the background because it takes away some of my texture. I'm going to click OK on the oil glaze one. And then I'm going to invert the mask. And then I'm going to put it back on just him and see what that looks like. Brush it back on. It's making him, this particular preset is making him a bit warmer, which I don't really want. It takes away some of the noise on him. Don't need to do around the feet. They're fine. Alright, that's before, that's after. It's okay. I think it's making him a little bit too warm, which I could desaturate him on that layer. Maybe even lower the opacity of that layer. It's just a very subtle difference. No, I think I like it before. I don't think I want to do any painting on this one. I like him like this. But I do see he's got still the golden color right here, even though I adjusted the color tones. So I think I might want to bring in some light on that side. So I'm going to go to Topaz Lens Effects, another one of my favorite of the Topaz programs. Oh, I could do a fog. No, this fog maybe. That makes it kind of interesting. I like this reflector light. And because the feet have the golden tones the most and the back of his neck, that means the light was coming from here when I shot the picture. So I'm going to try gold right. And see, that just makes a little bit more sense there. And click OK on that. Because it looks like now it has some light coming from this direction. So that's before and that's after. And I don't have to use it at full opacity. I can just use it a little bit just to show a hint of light, maybe around 67%. A hint of light coming from this way, which would make more sense with the feet. Might even pull another texture in on him. Let's look at the Ocean and Sea collection. See if there's anything in there. Well, I want to keep him pretty simple. So, well, Masters collection, that's a favorite. Let's see what comes up here. Let's try this one and reverse it. Nope. So keep it that way. That's where I want the light. Ooh, that makes it too yellow. However, I could bring down the saturation all the way on it. No, don't like that. Loses too much of his detail. Alright, let's see if there's anything else. Illumination collection, another one of my favorites for adding lighting, drama. None of these are speaking to me. Let's try this one. Actually, no. I actually like him like this. And if I wasn't sure, I could shut off all of these and go back to the original and try a different one behind him from the Deep Sea collection. So let's try a darker blue. Ooh, that really shows my masking mistakes right there. So we need to fix that, which means I'm going to delete these top two layers. I'm going to leave these in place, but I'm going to get on his layer and fix this around his feet. See, it was a little choppy there. Sometimes it can be helpful to change the color of the one you're using as the background so you can see these things like this. Go around those edges. That looks much better. Around here and around his head. I thought I had a pretty good mask going on there. But I just proved myself wrong. That's a little better. Now let's put this one on, this one on, and this one on. Nope, don't like those. But I fixed his mask, so I'm doing good. That's the original. What happens if I lower the opacity on this and kind of blend the two together? No, there's still a line around those legs. Maybe I could put this one on top. Let's try that as a layer mode. Nope, makes him too dark. Let me try a different one for the background. I just like to play and see what might look right. Here's a bright blue. That looks interesting. How about mixing that with that? Not sure if I like that mix. His color tones tend to go better with the more greenish one than the bluish one. But I could put this on top and try a different layer mode. That gives him a little bit more blue. Now let's turn these back on and see what I end up with. So just by adding that toned down the green and gave him a little more blue. Well, I'm kind of glad I did this experiment because I like this. I put this one at soft light at 44% on the very top of all these other layers I had already done. And I like the way that looks. So I'm going to leave that on there. That might do it for me right there. And I'm merging everything now and drinking coffee. Now I like to zoom out. See how I like it from a distance? I like that. I like that really well. Oh, this collection is perfect for these birds. Just to give a more interesting look. Now let's compare. Let's get the original photo, bring it to the top, and reset the mask on it. I duplicated it, by the way. And I'm going to size it down. So here's what I started with, this picture, which is fine. It's a good picture. Everything worked well with the shot, but it's boring to me. Maybe because it might not be to somebody else, but because I see it all the time, and this is my typical background for these. I just want something different and more unique. So now I've gone to this, which I'm really happy with because now I don't feel it's boring and I feel like it's more of an artistic piece at this point. And I really love the textures here. The Deep Sea collection has some really nice texture to it. Blow it up and see here. See that nice texture through there? I really like that. I think that works well. It gives the subject has a lot of energy when they're flying and they're coming in for a landing like that, and the texture kind of matches that energy of the bird. And the colors, I just really love these colors. So I like this. This is where I'm going to stop. I'm going to call this one done. And now I have to think of a title, which is the hardest part for me, trying to title all these things. And I have so many that are named like blue heron at the sea, blue heron this, blue heron that. So I'm trying to come up with some different kind of titles that might be more closer to the mood of the piece. So I'll see what I can come up with. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and hopefully I'll be back soon with another In the Digital Studio. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.